Hi everyone, welcome to Photoshop Training Essentials. I'm Professor Tennant, and in this video I'm going to do an overview of the Photoshop Workspace. You may notice at first that in Photoshop there is a welcome screen, and you are welcome to close that out. It just goes into some basic stuff that we are able to get into to get started, but for now we'll close that. In Photoshop, if you're familiar with the Adobe products, then this is familiar territory a little bit. If not, Photoshop was the flagship product of Adobe, and so other Photoshop applications are designed after it. We have a panel system, and you'll notice off to the right there's a bunch of panels, and those will be able to pull out or push back in. We can snap them together. And we have different tools. On the left hand side you'll notice a tools panel. Okay, I'm going to push that back in as well. And at the top we have an options bar, which changes according to whatever tools that we're using. Okay, so if I choose a different tool, you'll notice that the options available change according to the tool. At the top, you should see some names of drop-down menus. Okay, we'll get familiar with these as we go along. File and edit are very familiar with most applications. New, open, close for file. Edit is cut, copy, paste. And in Photoshop we work with images, so there's an image drop-down menu. The layers panel is very important, so there's a lot of options here. We can work with text, so there are options there. In Photoshop, selecting is essential in working with imagery and with manipulating pixels. So we can select elements, and there's a lot of things that we'll learn in here. Filters, we can do special effects. There are 3D capabilities in Photoshop. It's a newer features in the last 5 or so years. And viewing, we can zoom in and out and navigate the system and show different parts that will help us in our manipulating imagery. And in the window drop-down menu, anytime that you have it where your panel disappears or you need a new panel, you can go to the window drop-down menu and get a panel to come available. Okay, like so. Okay, the next thing I'd like to show you is, and we're going to concentrate heavily on the tools panel right here. Now your tools panel, yes, you can snap it, unsnap it, push it to whatever side you want. You could put it either side. I like it on the left. It ends up starting there, and you can make it so that the tools are single file or 2 at a time. Each tool has, if it has an arrow at the bottom right hand corner, you can click and hold that down, and you'll notice other tools underneath, and you can just select what you want. Okay, the tools panel is divided up into different areas, and it depends on the type of tasks that we use for these. And you'll notice a little bar or a line across to separate those out. And I'd like to bring up a little bit of a helper here. I've got some close-up pictures of the tools panel just so we can see what's going on with it. And let's see here. At the top, the very first set of tools are mainly our selection tools. There's a move tool, so we can move a selection or move a layer and things like that. The selection tools, actually we can surround or select parts of our image and manipulate it. Also things like cropping and selecting a color from a picture so that we can use it elsewhere. The next part of our tools have to do with manipulating the pixels themselves. We'll take a look at it in another video, but images are made up of digital little pixels. They're little boxes on a grid, and there are many of them per inch, and so we need to be able to manipulate those. We can change them by painting, making corrections. We can also clone, or in other words, copy and paste pixels so that we have duplicates of an area, which are these right here. The clone tool, for instance, brush, we have pencil, we have a color replacement. We have corrections type of tools, spot healing and healing brush. These things help us to correct problems with images. We also have access to history and art history brush, having to do with remembering pixels and bringing some information back onto the picture. Erasing, we have a background eraser, different things like that that get rid of some pixels, although we're going to find some techniques that I'll teach you on how to avoid erasing so that everything is editable. We are able to use a gradient, and we have a paint bucket tool as well. We can add colors of various with various techniques in it. Last couple here, we can blur and sharpen an image, and this very last one in the set, something that comes from darkroom techniques for photography, dodge and burn tool. Those we can keep the details in our image, but yet manipulate them to be lighter or darker. And we can also subdue the color brilliancy as well with the sponge tool. Okay, the next set of tools here I'd like to show you are the vector tools. Yes, we do have access to a pen tool, and it works very much the same way as the other Adobe products, especially in Illustrator. Pen tool works the same way. We have access to a text tool, and we can also select the vector or paths with the direct and the path selection tools. And lastly, in the row here, we can create vector shapes that are predetermined shapes. Okay, all of the shapes are again hidden. If you hold down your mouse and click, you can choose whatever shape it is that you want. Okay, the very last tools have to do with some navigation and selecting color that we want to utilize in Photoshop. And we can pan through the system, we can zoom in and out, and we can also look at different workspace modes. You'll notice that there's a couple of patches of color, very similar to other Adobe products, which in Illustrator, for instance, a stroke and fill color. But in Photoshop, it's a little bit different. We set a foreground and a background color, so you can flip between several colors that you predetermine, which is easy to utilize. You'll get used to it. Okay, last but not least, in the whole row, there are some screen modes. Standard screen mode we are in currently. I'm going to open up a picture so that we can see how that works a little bit. Open that. Yeah, that is me. If I wanted to go and move about, say I'm using the hand tool, actually gets it so that we can move around in the system, but it only goes so far. Okay, we'll look at navigation a little bit more closely in the next video. But if I want to be able to move around in the workspace a little bit easier, we can go to full screen mode and allow our menu bar to float, okay? And I'm able to push even way far away from the image. Now, if you're familiar with Illustrator, the outside area was a workspace and you could paste things on it. And in Photoshop, that's not exactly true. Yes, it will remember pixels that are outside of what we call the canvas. However, manipulating those, we really cannot have access to them unless they are visible on the canvas. Okay, and that's it for the overview on our workspace. The next video, we will look at navigation in Photoshop.